of the intruders was of considerable size, tall and heavy-limbed, thick through the belly, with a bushy beard and small iron-colored eyes like a pig's. He wore farmer's clothing, a floppy-brimmed hat and muddied boots, and he brought with him into the room the acrid smell of the barnyard. He carried a Schaffer single-barrel shotgun in one big paw, and while he didn't actually aim the thing at Kane, he kept it at the ready. The other intruder was older and slight of build, a dignified-looking man of the southern planter class, not tall so much as a man whose erect bearing and good breeding gave the impression of size. He was well dressed in a brown riding coat, knee-length boots burnished to a high shine, and black leather gloves. He had the sharp features of a red-tailed hawk and cold blue-gray eyes that fixed Kane where he lay with an imperious gaze. On his hip he carried a sidearm, a pearl-handled small-caliber pocket revolver, a pretty weapon of the sort that riverboat gamblers kept in their coat pockets and women carried in their purses. The two made an unlikely pair of robbers, but you could never tell in this part of the city. Kane glanced around, searching for his own weapon. It lay across the room on the bureau, above which hung a cracked mirror. Damn, he thought. "What in the hell you think you're doing?" Kane cried. It was the old man who spoke up. "I've come for money," he said. Kane laughed at that. "If you've a notion to rob me, mister, you're up a creek without a paddle." The well-dressed man offered a patronizing smile to this comment. There was, Kane felt, something familiar about that gesture, about his mouth and the haughty way he looked at Kane, though he couldn't place him. Certainly he'd seen his ilk before. "I've come only for what you owe me." When Kane furrowed his brow in bewilderment, the man added, "You don't remember me, do you?" "Should I?" "Last Saturday night," the man explained, removing his gloves one finger at a time. When his gloves were off, he unconsciously rubbed the palm of his left hand, where a knotted scar snaked across it from little finger to thumb. It was the sort of wound that would have been made had he grabbed hold of a knife blade in self-defense. "At the Morgan Brothers." Kane still drew a blank. There had been so many such evenings of gambling and drinking of late that, like the others, this one formed a grayish blank in his mind, as if burned away with a branding iron. "My aces beat your queens," the man offered. Only then did it come back to Kane how he knew the man. He never forgot a hand, especially a losing one. It had been in one of the back rooms of the Morgan Brothers, a well-known gambling establishment in Richmond. He fumbled around in his thoughts, and then the name appeared with the aces. Eberly. A wealthy tobacco planter with a reputation for losing $1,000 on a single hand, as if it were so much paper. The card game, attended by mostly wealthy merchants and plantation owners, should have been much too rich for Kane's blood, but he'd been drinking heavily, and he felt he could part them from some of their money, and when he'd seen the three ladies turn up in his hand like a rainbow after a string of bad weather, he had felt lucky, and he wasn't going to let such an opportunity slip through his fingers. So he had cast reason to the wind and stayed in the hand much longer than sense should have allowed or means should have permitted. All the while he recalled this Eberly, sitting back, staring over his cards at him with that cool, hard glare, and that smile that stuck in his craw like bad corn liquor. The son of a bitch's just bluffing, Kane kept telling himself. He felt he knew when some